All right, a couple things. So we had a mass shooting, like a few days after school started in Minnesota. The right-wing media is going ham on the fact that the shooter apparently is a trans individual. That is not the significant thing in this story. They want to make it that. They've been waiting. Like, they're drooling right now over the fact that it was a trans person. They're already asking if the FBI is going to declare, like, trans ideology as a key domestic threat. It's completely ridiculous. This individual was a right-wing extremist. We've seen the manifesto, the details about the manifesto, the messages written on the magazines for their high-powered weapon, assault-style weapon. Anti-Semite, whole bunch of hate. Just sounds like the average fascist or fascist-leaning right-winger who was radicalized by the right online. And the fact that this person was trans, like, they're going to sit there and, like, blame mental health. Like, I don't deny that mental health is a factor, but I think the gun thing is probably the most significant. So something that I did today was I called a couple of my Congress people, my representatives, and I asked them to do this. I want Democrats to go hard on counter messaging because the right wing wants to threaten trans people who make up a tiny, tiny percentage of the people. Well, one, they make up a tiny percentage of the population. Two, they make a tiny percentage of the mass shooters. And in my personal opinion, I'm kind of surprised that it doesn't happen more with trans people because they are so often, especially by the right wing, targeted for harassment, bullying, and violence. They are treated abysmally by their conservative parents, if that's the case. And the media, the right-wing media, is awful on this. So, and I feel like that's sort of part of the plan, like, just keep pushing these folks. Like, the whole thing with trans, regret rates, it's really low. It's actually lower than, like, people that have had, like, knee surgery and stuff like that. The reason why people regret transitioning usually is because there are socially related issues. Sometimes it's financial because it's difficult to maintain the regimens that they need to. But it's not because they're regretting being a trans person. It's because society is horrific towards trans people in some places in the United States, and that's the problem. So what I want the Democrats to do is I want them to counter message. We should be looking into the problem with white male, because it's almost always white men, and why they tend to be the shooters, right-wing men. Because, and also they should be releasing the FBI's previous findings until, the FBI kind of got corrupted by the people like Ash Patel and Dan Bongina. No offense to women there. I just fucking hate that guy. I want them to do an exploratory committee on what is radicalizing right-wing extremists, because I believe it is the right-wing media engaging in, trans panic and gay panic, all this, like the satanic panic, all this nonsense, all these things that are not issues. And also, we should be talking about reading the full Second Amendment, because some people really suck at reading and they can't get through the whole sentence. It mentions that you need to be part of a well-regulated militia. I would look for regulations that match our military while in garrison. I think that's a good place to start, because they have strict accountability standards. They have training standards. I think we should have stricter training for civilian folks that don't, like, by default get regular training with weapons. And I think it should be licensed, and I think ammunition should be smart ammunition. Whether that's done like it's like some kind of electronic thing, or there's like an electronic signature, or there's some additional identifiers. So if rounds are fired, you have to account for those. And I think ammunition should be a lot more expensive. I think there should be strict background checks. I think we should be talking about removing weapons from people that are dangerous to other people that have a history of domestic violence. That's going to be a tricky one for the police, because about 40% of them abuse and commit violence against their domestic partners and their kids. So that's a difficult conversation, isn't it? I forget what the stats are for that for military members, but theirs aren't so good either. But I think you should have to be in a well-regulated militia if you're going to have weapons. I think there should be a gun buyback program. And I think we need to do something about the radicalizing forces of right-wing media. I think many of them should have to lose their license by default and then have to go through training on responsible media production. They should have to have an ethics board. There should be heavy fines, and I think by default the CEOs and the shareholders should take a significant penalty every time there are issues with the broadcast. And I thought about this for a long time. Like, when we find that people that are supposed to be presenting factual information, when they are lying, I think they should be forced to do anywhere from 5 times the coverage on the correction to 50 times the coverage on the correction. Depends on how many times you lie within a given period. And maybe they should be just forced to have some kind of banner or something that indicates this is not as of X date, this is not a credible source of information. So you should seek out these other sources for verification of information. I don't know, like, we live in an age that has been stained by people that share misinformation, disinformation, propaganda, including with foreign influence and domestic people that I would consider domestic enemies in the United States against most of the people within this country, within the continental United States and its U.S. territories. I'm ashamed at the people that we've had in charge for decades, from at least the Sandy Hook mass shootings. But there's been so many I can't even count anymore. And, I thought it was interesting. It's not that interesting how, like, Caroline Levitt went off on people that asked her about what her predecessor had said, Jen Psaki, who was quite correct. It's not enough to say thoughts and prayers, because sorry to break your brain and your delusion, folks that pray. Prayer has no effect on the external world. Outside of your own head, nothing. It doesn't. So, like, grow the fuck up. Real world problems require real world solutions, and gun violence is unacceptable. It is the #1 cause of death for children in this country. It's absurd. And I don't ever want to hear again that conservatives care about kids or they love kids. Please. They abuse kids. They treat them like property. They look the other way when they've been abused, whether it's physically or sexually. They elected a pedophile. They protect the biggest group of organized child sex traffickers and child sex perpetrators that we've ever heard of. And then people are still very, very religious. And who's the organization that engages in the most child rape? Oh yeah, that's Catholicism. We know, it's documented. And there are so many people in the Republican Party that have engaged in child sex crimes. So I don't want to hear anything from you guys, nothing. Like, pro-life, my ass. You guys supported genocide. You supported every freaking genocide there is. Life, like pro-life. You guys got behind slavery. You got no problem with that. You're doing it again. You're backing people that profit off of it. You profit off of child separations from their families. You guys lose kids with no planning to track them, to reunite them with their family. That happened in the first Trump regime, and it's happening again now. And maybe you say that it doesn't count when they're brown. Also, fuck you. Big fuck you. You fucking racists. All people on this planet share 99.99% of their DNA. We are all fucking human beings. There is nobody that should be considered, no group that should be considered superior to everyone else. Nobody's rights, liberties, freedoms, bodily autonomy, or what have you, representation, should be considered less than any other group. Fuck off. If you think that, you have the right to no longer exist. I'll say that. That's not a threat of violence. I just can't wait until you're gone, because the world is going to be a better place the moment that happens. Fuck off. Fuck all the way off. Hey, I will step up and I will take care of people even if we disagree. But if we don't share a basic sense of humanity, if I find out, we're going to have some problems. Generally speaking, I will provide services to anybody that needs them. However, if we have a serious ethical conflict and I can't do my job, that's on you. That's on you. And honestly, like, I think more people should be closing the door on fascists that are like, fuck all fascists, fuck all of them. The only good fascist is a dead one. They shouldn't get service, they shouldn't get any support, they shouldn't get any favor by anybody. And they deserve our disdain. Fascists are, it should be a dead ideology. It's the most hated on the planet for a reason, because it's a fucking death cult. And it makes no sense. It tears itself apart with its own inherent contradictions. It's not rational, it's not reasonable. You didn't get there by being a rational, reasonable person. So if you're watching this, I don't know, maybe I just sound like one of the adults from Charlie Brown to you. Well, cool, fuck off. Did you catch that one? This ain't for you. This is for the people that maybe aren't too far gone, that are actually reasonable. So yeah, Democrats should go on the offense. Every opportunity they have, they should go on the offense. They should be calling Republicans. Most of the time, I wish they would call them fascists, but I understand they need to talk to like libertarians and all that shit. All those people, all conservatives that aren't down with Donald Trump. All right, fine, whatever. Call them Republicans, I guess. I don't think it's the most accurate label. I mean, I guess it's a party affiliation, so fine. But they should be punching Republicans in the face rhetorically all the time. Like, look what Trump did to jobs. Look what he did to workers' rights. That's fucked. Look what he did to food safety. That's fucked. Look what he did to the economy. That's fucked. Everything's more expensive, and things are about to get a hell of a lot worse. And now he wants to screw around with monetary policy because he's dicking around trying to fire people at the Fed. Have you guys heard of what happened in Argentina when their dictator played around? 85% inflation, anyone? And they're still grappling with that, and they will for a long time. That cripples a country. And maybe it's fine for the richy riches. I'm imagining even those guys are hurt, dog. We can't do that. We can't do that. We can't be living in the land of fucking Trump fiction and Republican fiction. These guys can't run anything. And it seems like a lot of them are just kind of trying to grab the bag and run while the rest of the world falls apart. Well, the United States anyway. I think a lot of the world's going to be okay without us. They basically said, y'all don't want to play ball. You don't want to play fair. You want to do a bunch of stupid shit. So fine. Go play with yourself. You played yourself. Have fun with that. Well, now we're suffering. Now we can't even send stuff home or send stuff to other countries with that de minimis exception shit. It's stupid. We're isolated. How's that great? It's not. Bye.